If you're over 60 and taking vitamin B12 every single day, I need you to stop for a moment and listen very carefully.
I hear this exact question almost every week in my clinic. Just recently, I had a 68-year-old patient. He'd been taking B12 for over 7 years, but his energy was tanking and his memory was getting worse. And his blood tests, they were totally normal. See, his problem wasn't a lack of vitamin B12. It was that he was taking it the wrong way. And new research is showing that one very common mistake in adults over 60 can completely block absorption and silently damage your nerves.
Hello and welcome! We're here to help you live healthier, smarter, and longer. In this explainer, we're going to reveal the simple changes that can make your B12 supplement finally start working for you. If you find this valuable, do me a quick favor and hit that like button right now. It truly helps us reach more people who really need to hear this.
So how are we going to solve this puzzle? Well, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll dive into why your standard B12 tests can be so misleading. Then, we'll break down the 3 biggest mistakes that most people make. After that, I'm going to give you the exact protocol for getting real results. We'll talk honestly about when B12 might not be the whole story, and we'll wrap it all up with a clear action plan you can start using tonight.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Most of us were taught to trust our lab results, right? If your blood test says your B12 level is normal, you figure everything's fine. But for anyone over 60, that assumption can be seriously, dangerously wrong.
So here is the absolute core of the problem. As we get older, our stomach changes. It's just a fact of life. By the time we hit 60, more than half of us have less stomach acid, and you need that acid to kind of pry B12 loose from your food. But here's the real kicker. We also start making less of a critical protein called intrinsic factor. A standard blood test, it can't see any of this. It only tells you how much B12 is floating around in your blood, not how much is actually getting into your cells where it's needed, and that's what matters. B12 is like the insulation on the electrical wires for your nerves. Without it, your nerve signals start to misfire, and that causes the exact symptoms my 71-year-old patient Margaret was feeling, even though her labs look normal.
Let's just focus on this for a second, because this concept is everything. Think of intrinsic factor as a special key. Your stomach makes this key. It latches onto the B12, and it unlocks the door in your intestine that lets the B12 into your body. As we age, we just make fewer of these keys. So, here's the bottom line. It doesn't matter how much B12 you swallow in a pill. If you don't have enough of that key, that intrinsic factor, that B12 is just passing right through you.
Okay, so now that we get the biological challenge we're up against, let's talk about the 3 all too common mistakes that are probably sabotaging your efforts with B12.
The very first mistake, and it's the most common one, is taking B12 as a standard tablet that you just swallow with a glass of water. This whole method depends completely on having enough stomach acid and enough intrinsic factor, the 2 things we now know start to disappear as we get older. For most folks over 60, this is shockingly ineffective. It's like trying to mail a critical package with no address on it. It's just never going to get where it needs to go.
Mistake number 2 is all about using the wrong form of B12. You see, most of the cheap supplements out there use something called cyanocobalamin. The best way to think about it is, it's like flat pack furniture. Yeah, you can eventually use it, but your body has to spend a lot of time and energy converting it into something useful. For older adults, that whole conversion process is often really slow and inefficient. Now, methylcobalamin, on the other hand, that's like furniture that comes fully assembled. It's a bioactive form ready for your body to use instantly. My patient Robert, who's 72, saw 0 change with the assembly-required kind. The moment we switched him to the ready-to-use methylcobalamin, his numbness and his balance improved dramatically.
And the third big mistake, it's all about rhythm and routine. B12 isn't like a cup of coffee. It's not a quick jolt. It's a fundamental nutrient for repairing your nerves. And that repair process is slow, it's steady, and it demands a constant daily supply. I had a patient, Elaine, she's 70. She would only take her B12 on days she felt really tired. And guess what? Her symptoms never truly went away. On top of that, because B12 helps with energy, taking it late at night can actually mess with your sleep. And good sleep is when your body does its best repair work. For nerve health, believe me, consistency is king.
All right, so we have clearly laid out the problems. Now let's get to the good part, the solution. I'm going to walk you through the exact protocol I use with my own patients. It is a simple, step-by-step plan to make absolutely sure the B12 you're taking is the B12 your body can actually use.
The best way to remember this protocol is to break it into 3 parts. The first part is all about what you take: the right form, the right delivery method, and the right dose. That's steps 1, 2, and 3. The second part is about how and when you take it, your daily routine. That covers steps 4 and 5. And the final part? That's about supporting the whole process and tracking your real-world progress. And that brings us to step 6 and 7. So let's break down exactly what this all means. Okay, these first 2 steps are the absolute game changers. I mean it. First, like we just talked about, you've got to choose an active, ready-to-use form like methylcobalamin. And second, and this is so critical, you have to use a sublingual form. That just means you let it dissolve under your tongue. Whether it's a tiny lozenge or a liquid dropper, putting it under your tongue lets the B12 get absorbed directly into that rich network of blood vessels you have there. It's a brilliant way to completely bypass the stomach acid and intrinsic factor problem.
Now for step 3, let's talk about the dose. For really supporting your nerves and your brain as a senior, a tiny little dose just isn't going to cut it. To overcome any absorption issues and to properly fuel your cells, most older adults really need a daily dose somewhere in the range of 1,000 to 2,000 micrograms. And don't worry, because B12 is water-soluble, your body will safely get rid of any extra it doesn't happen to need.
Now for part 2, your habits. Step 4 is all about consistency. You have to take it every single day. Think of it like watering a plant, right? You can't just water it once a month and expect it to thrive. Nerve repair is a slow, cumulative process. And for step 5, timing is key. You want to take it in the morning or maybe early afternoon. This works with your body's natural energy cycle and helps make sure it won't keep you up at night.
And finally, part 3. For step 6, just remember that B12 doesn't like to work alone. It works best when it's paired with partners like folate and vitamin B6 for complete nerve support. And for step 7, which might be the most important of all, I want you to monitor your progress by how you feel. Are you more steady on your feet? Is your thinking a little sharper? Is that tingling in your fingers getting better? These real-world changes are the true measure of success, much more than any number on a lab report.
So what happens if you follow this protocol perfectly, but you find your symptoms still aren't getting any better? This is a really, really important question, and we absolutely need to address it head-on.
It is so crucial to understand that while B12 is incredibly powerful for your nerves, it isn't a magic bullet for everything. We have to set some realistic expectations and know when it's time to look a little deeper for other causes.
The right B12 protocol can't always reverse severe, long-term nerve damage from other issues. For example, if you have uncontrolled high blood sugar from diabetes, that directly poisons the nerves, and B12 alone can't fix that. The same goes for chronic inflammation or a physical problem, like a compressed nerve in your back. So if you're doing everything right with B12 and you're still not seeing improvements, it's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you need to work with your doctor to dig deeper and find the real root cause.
Okay, so let's bring all this home. Let's put this all together into a clear, simple action plan that can take you from feeling confused to feeling clear and in control starting today.
When you take it in the right form, the right way, and you do it consistently, vitamin B12 can genuinely protect your nerves and bring back your energy and your clarity. One of my patients, a woman in her early 70s who followed this exact protocol, she told me after 3 months, she said, "I feel steady again. I trust my feet when I walk, and I don't lose words mid-sentence anymore." Now that is the profound difference between just checking a box and actually supplementing correctly. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Is your current B12 routine actually supporting and rebuilding your nerves and your brain, or are you just checking a box? If you found this helpful, please leave a comment below and let us know, how old are you? How long have you been taking B12, and what kind do you use? And most importantly, are you still dealing with symptoms? Sharing your experience could really help someone else who's watching. Thanks so much for being here. Take care of those nerves. They're the only ones you've got.